Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series, and today I'm going to be talking about episode 5 of the Undertaker's Last Ride documentary, which was called Revelation. And having just finished watching it, I knew going in that this episode was going to be extremely important for a number of reasons. The obvious reason being that this was the final episode of the Last Ride documentary series, and two, that I knew something big was coming towards the end. I had no idea what it was going to be, but I knew that this was the one to watch, without a doubt. And this episode was the longest of the entire series, clocking in at 1 hour and 9 minutes. And ever since this documentary series started, as we all know, they filmed about 3 years worth of footage, and it's been a real eye-opener ever since the first episode all the way up to now. We've seen Mark Calloway, the man, struggling with injuries and trying to look for that perfect ending where he's content and just willing to walk away from the ring. And overall, the entire series has been a real eye-opener, because me, as a loyal, hardcore Undertaker fan for many, many years, we all know that, he gets injured and he's pretty banged up, as you would expect for a guy who's been competing for over 30 years, that you are going to get injuries. Some injuries you may not recover as quick as others. But it's been a real eye-opener just watching all of this unfold, and it's been a real breath of fresh air to listen to not just Undertaker as Mark Calloway the man, but to hear thoughts from colleagues, friends, his wife, fellow legends, Vince McMahon himself, just to really get a real insight into not just the Undertaker character, but Mark Calloway the man as well. So, having watched episode 5, it was very, very emotional, especially the ending, which I kind of knew was coming, but when it actually did happen, it completely caught me off guard, because a part of me was expecting it, but when it actually did happen, I was just completely gobsmacked, to be honest. So, before we get to the ending, we're just going to talk about episode 5, Revelation. So, this episode pretty much picks up where we left off at the end of episode 4. Undertaker teamed up with Roman Reigns to fight Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre in an outstanding no-holds-barred tag team match at Extreme Rules, and Undertaker looked really good. He looked very fresh and reinvigorated, and he just was glowing lots of confidence, especially after that car crash of a match with Goldberg at Saudi Arabia during the Super Showdown pay-per-view. So to actually see him moving better, and he just looked on fire, no pun intended. And how episode 4 ended was Undertaker went up to the boss and said, "I'm done," and Vince, being Vince, said, "Oh, don't worry about it, we can talk about it, not a problem. Looked like you still got quite a bit left." And Undertaker kept telling him, "It might look like I've got a lot, but I haven't, I'm done." And the last words Vince said before this episode wrapped up was, "Whatever you decide, Mark, I will follow your lead." And as this episode was drawn to a close, we saw Undertaker having a conversation with AJ Styles, which left the door open for episode 5. So, during episode 5, we see Undertaker is still kind of content with being Extreme Rules was his send-off, his final match, and we got to see lots of cool things. We even got to see Undertaker go to the performance center, and he's working out with all the young guys. And I've always said that when Undertaker's finished from the ring, he would make an excellent mentor for the young wrestlers, because you've got a guy who's been around forever. He's got bucket loads of knowledge, and I think he would make an excellent road agent with NXT. I mean, Shawn Michaels is working there. Obviously, Triple H is in charge of NXT, and I think Undertaker would fit right in there because, you know, he's got so much to give. And throughout the episode, we see Undertaker working with a bunch of different young guys over the years. We even got to see Randy Orton face the Undertaker for the first time, which was back in May 2002 on SmackDown. I remember that match very, very well. It was actually a really good match, and in a way it kind of like set the table, unbeknownst to us, for their WrestleMania Classic in 2005 at WrestleMania 21, which is one of my favourite matches. And we got to hear from Randy Orton, and he said that Undertaker was taking a lot of bumps for me and really going out of his way to make me look good, and he knew that later on I would also return the favour for him. And it was really nice to hear, you know, Undertaker putting over lots of different young guys. We even got to revisit that classic ladder match with Jeff Hardy in July 2002 on Raw. I still have that on DVD. I might try to revisit that at some point. And the thing with Jeff Hardy and Undertaker, Jeff Hardy was already a star, but I feel when he worked with The Undertaker in that ladder match, I think Jeff Hardy came out of that match even bigger because he really gave The Undertaker a real fight. And I remember how close Jeff Hardy was to winning that WWE title. Obviously he didn't win, but just those few odd moments where, you know, maybe he could win this, you know, was absolutely fantastic. And Undertaker has always been a giving guy. He's never been afraid to put young guys over and building them up into big stars, and he's done that for so long. And he's made huge stars out of everybody, from Edge to Randy Orton to Jeff Hardy to Batista. Not that Batista needed the rub because he already got that with Evolution, but just to work with Undertaker in a WrestleMania match, that just propelled Batista's star even higher. Would have liked to have heard a little bit from Brock Lesnar because, you know, Undertaker has really put Brock Lesnar over in a big way. Not once, but twice, but more than one occasion. But we never got to hear from Brock Lesnar. I would have liked to have done just a little bit, but never mind. It is what it is. But we also saw Undertaker talk about AJ Styles, and we also got to see Undertaker on the Stone Cold Broken Skull sessions where he was talking about, I'm going to write my own ending, I'm going to go out on my own terms. And AJ Styles contacts The Undertaker and says, look, if you've got one more match left in you, I want to work with you. And we hear Taker say that, oh man, 10-15 years ago I would have loved to have worked with AJ Styles. We could have just tore the house down, but I've got nothing left. But I will think about it and let you know my decision. Now, AJ Styles, which I just want to talk a little bit about him. AJ Styles, in my opinion, I've said this a number of times, AJ Styles, in my opinion, is quite possibly the best in-ring worker in the entire company. He can have a good match with anybody. Doesn't matter what size you are, whether you're big, whether you're small. He can have a good match with anybody. And I remember in a couple of episodes back of the documentary series, Undertaker said that AJ Styles reminds me of Shawn Michaels, and that probably might be true. You know, Shawn Michaels was like that back in the 90s. He could have a good match with a mop. You know, he was so damn good. And I would put AJ Styles in that category. And we got to hear from Edge, and I absolutely agreed with him 100%. Edge said that, I'm looking up the roster, and if I want to have my final match, I want it to be with AJ Styles. He's the best man to have your final match with. And we got to hear from Michelle McCall also saying, well, there's nobody better to work with, and Stone Cold even chipped in and said, at this stage of The Undertaker's career, you need a guy that you can trust to have that good match, and AJ Styles is that guy. So it was really nice to hear everybody praising AJ Styles, and especially The Undertaker, and he finally gave the green lights and said, yep, I'll do it. So we got to see Undertaker train and prepare for the match, and they kicked off the build-up as we saw at Super Showdown, and it was electric. I remember seeing that moment and just seeing AJ Styles and The Undertaker. I mean, it was a dream match. I think I remember years ago I said to a friend that I'd love to see AJ Styles and The Undertaker work together. At the time, AJ Styles was working in TNA, and my friend said, well, I don't know really. I mean, Undertaker was quick, but I don't think he's as quick as AJ Styles. AJ Styles is lightning quick. But I said, I still think it would be a great match. If AJ Styles ever did come to WWE, that would be a fantastic match. And they finally booked it, and I'll get to that in a minute. And we also got to hear about the American Badass character. We even got to hear Undertaker explain how the American Badass character came about. And I remember when Undertaker first came out as the biker, I initially didn't like it. I'm not going to lie, I didn't like it at first, because being such a fan of the Dead Man for so long, and now the Undertaker is coming out as a normal guy. I know he did a couple of human-based promos between 1997 to 1998, and in the second late half of 99 he was showing more and more human tendencies, but he was still very much the Dead Man. So to see Undertaker come out as a normal guy on a motorcycle, it was quite a tough pill for me to swallow, but I understand and respect, looking back now, why The Undertaker made that change going into the 2000s of the Attitude Era. I felt that the character was very refreshing. We got to see a different side of him, got to talk on the mic more, talk trash like Stone Cold and The Rock did. So it was a big transition, but it worked. I mean, Undertaker made it work. I liked the biker character later on when he turned heel, cut his hair short and lost all the excess weight and got into top shape and became Big Evil. That was my favourite incarnation of the biker. I absolutely loved the hell out of that character, and he was just fantastic, not just as a heel, but his in-ring work got much, much better. And yeah, it was probably my favourite version of the biker gimmick, in my opinion. So we also saw AJ Styles shoot from the hip, addressing Undertaker as Mark Calloway, and I still say to this day that is one of the most brutal, honest promos I've ever seen in a very long time. Not since the days of CM Punk with his pipe bombs have I ever seen a promo where they just not break the fourth wall, but just shatter the fourth wall. And AJ Styles is a phenomenal, no pun intended, heel. He's so good at making you hate him. As I said, he kind of reminded me a little bit of the old Shawn Michaels, where you wanted to slap him in the face, but you had no choice but to respect him because, he's so damn good in the ring. And we also got to hear Undertaker's thoughts about the whole pandemic situation that's been going on, and that kind of put the skids on WrestleMania, sort of. And we even got to see how the Boneyard match was made. They went to like this other side of the performance centre and they started building the caskets and the shed and the house and all sorts of things for the match. So it was a very unique situation, and we got to hear Undertaker talk about how he is going to address AJ Styles calling him out by his real name. And the way he explained about how he fused all the gimmicks and personas into one single character. He said, well, the only way this is going to work is I've got to be the Undertaker, I've got to be the American Badass, but I've got to be the man who has to come forward. So I'm putting them all together in one character. And the match itself, the Boneyard match, it was really good. I have to be truly honest. I mean, I didn't know what kind of match we was getting, but they filmed it on a cinematic scale and it just worked. And to see Undertaker come out in, you know, his new look, you know, was just awesome. And it was a really good match. I've watched it just a few days ago and it was fantastic. They really did beat the crap out of each other, you know, and it was one of those matches where you got pretty much the best of everything. You got to see Undertaker's supernatural stuff, you got to see him talk trash as the American Badass, you know, you got to see tendencies of his real life persona as Mark Calloway. You got to see a bit of everything. And AJ Styles, he really sold the hell out of that, and so did the Undertaker as well. They absolutely sold the crap out of that match, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And I would probably say that was the best match of the first night of WrestleMania. I mean, it was probably my favourite match of the entire events, if I'm truly honest, but of that first night of WrestleMania, that was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. So as we go towards the end, we see Undertaker's very satisfied with the match, and he said that he was done. He said that it's time for this cowboy to finally walk away, and that's where it really hit me hard, because to hear Mark actually confirm that he's retired and he's done, and was really emotional. And they got this really nice video package with the music, seeing all old pictures of his friends from the BSK, that's the Bone Street Crew, and it was just a very emotional ending because I wasn't really expecting it. And you know, he thanked everyone, Kane and Mick Foley, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. He said, I've got two families now, and I've got my wife and my kids, and I've got my family who I've been on the road with for most of my career. And he also said, Vince ever needs me, would I come back? I'd have to think about that, but I'm quite content that I'm done. So we saw Undertaker like fishing with his family. It was really emotional. It really, really was. And I have to say that if this is indeed Undertaker's final match, the Boneyard match, can't think of any better way to go out, and to see him on his motorcycle just drive off into the darkness / sunset, whichever way you look at it, was very fitting for what's been an epic 30-year career. And if anyone deserves the true storybook ending, it's definitely The Undertaker. He's more than earned it, and I'm glad that he got to do it with AJ Styles, because in my opinion he's the best opponent you could ask for. And yeah, it was really emotional. It really, really was. And all I got to say is thank you, Undertaker, for 30 years of great memories and great matches. You know, you've been my favourite wrestler since the first time I ever watched wrestling, which was like back in 1997, but saw little clips here and there going back even earlier than that. But I officially first started watching it in 1997, and yeah, he's not just my favourite wrestler, he's quite possibly my hero. And I don't really use that word very often, but he really is. And damn, what a career, what a way to go out, and my god, what a fantastic series. So with that all said, I'm going to wrap this up now, and I'm going to drop this here for you guys. What did you think of episode 5 of the Undertaker's Last Ride documentary? How do you feel about Undertaker finally retiring? Are you sad? Do you think this was the perfect ending, or do you think maybe he should do it at Survivor Series with a live crowd? I personally think he should do it at a live crowd, not in a match, maybe just come out and do a speech and officially say goodbye to the fans. But I want to hear your thoughts about that, so you know what to do. Leave your thoughts and comments down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see all of you next time. So till then, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, thank you Undertaker, you're the best.